for both of you, if there was one single reform that you would like to see adopted in every state, what would it be?
That's a great question.
It is a great question.
I think tying teacher pay increasingly to student performance. I think we'd get greater student performance if teachers were paid for that effort.
So if he took that one, I would say the discussion we're having there about the use of technology to transform the educational mission, the school of one thing that we're talking about, very different models of delivery, students moving at the pace and the level that they can move rather than saying, I got a class of 25, they're going from 5th grade to 6th grade. I think that coupled with the human resource piece.
So basically we switched around what he was going to say teacher effectiveness being compensated, and I was going to use the technology. So
yeah, so
I think they're both highly important.
Back in February, in an interview that you did government budget with Fred Barnes, you urged President Obama to break with the teachers' unions. Since then, we've seen Randy Weingarten of the AFT criticize Obama and said, this is Bush 3. You mentioned Obama briefly in your speech. Wanted to get your assessment. To what degree has he broken with the teachers' unions, and what additional steps would you like to see him take?
I actually think it's important for political leaders in a time of gridlock, which is this period in Washington, at least, where there is gridlock, to where appropriate and where it's in your heart to break away from core constituencies and do what's right. And presidents have that opportunity, and this is where President Obama has done it. And I, not only did I mention him in the speech, I let the record show that I was very supportive of what he's doing, because I think it's right. Now, in Washington, the danger is if Jeb Bush says something nice about Obama, then it'll create criticism from the other side or something like that. But the fact is, the guy is on the right track, and his secretary is as well. And I didn't know at the beginning that would be the case, and in fact, it's happened, and it's not. I think it's really important when you support, when there's common ground, to express it and build on it. So kudos to the president for focusing on children first. I think he sincerely believes that the system has let down a generation of students, particularly students of lower income, and he's passionate about it, and these policies reflect a way to improve that.
And in particular, just breaking it down just a little bit, which particular decisions and policies has he put forward that have done that, and then which additional ones could a president do going forward?
Well, I think the race for the top money is a leading indicator of the things that can be done, and it's a great indication of the Secretary and the President's heart on this matter. When you say you can compete for this $5 billion pot of money, or I guess it's a little less than that, isn't it? It's
4.35.
Yes, $4+ billion, which is unheard of, that kind of money for reform in our country. You can compete on it if you have good data systems, if you have embraced school choice, that you have a teacher effectiveness model. Those things are the building blocks of reform. So what will happen? Well, the money will be given out. Hopefully, as Joel said, the money won't be dispersed out in a political way where every state gets something just for showing up. But that the best proposals are funded at a maximum level. Then I think there needs to be some accountability that people do what they said they were going to do, and that's the proper role of the federal government to make sure that happens. And my guess is it will become evident that this kind of systemic reform will create other opportunities. Reform is never final, so it'll create a whole new set of reforms to build on. So what we need to have is sustainability of reform, not just one thing, and this proposal is a great first step, I think. You follow it more carefully because you're looking for the dough, right?
I mean, I think the charter thing is a kind of innovation piece, his willingness to talk meaningfully about teacher accountability. I think those pieces. The use of data is still something, hard as it may seem, that's controversial. So I think like anybody else, what he's trying to do is bring people along The political process is always better if everybody is on one page, but in the end, I think he's willing to lead from the front on these issues, and I think that's terrific. My sense is there'll be things that the unions will support. There'll be things that will be more controversial. That's exactly the way it was in New York. Jeb said, you know, we negotiated a good pay-for-performance program, school-based. It was a good, based on real student achievement issues. We were able to do it on a school-based way. We couldn't do it on an individual-based way. That's the nature of the real world. And I think the president is going to position this in a way that brings people together toward the end game.
I think it also, Joel brought up a point I hadn't thought of in the comments, which was done right, which we all hope it is, that the race to the top money implemented correctly will create a real consensus for how to reauthorize No Child Left Behind, which is a key element. Another role of the federal government is to get that right, to build on the success of it and look at some of the challenges now, you know, going forward. The one big one is that in a very short period of time, there's an expectation that every child in every subgroup is reading at grade level, which is an impossibility. So you want to, if you're trying to lead in policy, you want to leave the harbor but not go over the horizon, because we won't follow if they can't find the guy that's out there leading. And that was not a problem at the beginning of No Child Left Behind. It'll become a problem getting closer to the, I think it's 2013 deadline. So the reauthorization creates an opportunity to create a growth model, for example, so that part of the measurement of success is learning gains, which I think there's a growing consensus that that's important.
All right. I think we're done.
Governor?
Silva.
Governor, you and your brother both have waged successful state campaigns based on an educational vision, carried the plans out in office. But considering everything the federal government's involved in, and considering the actually limited role that federal money plays in any school district's operation, do you actually foresee a time when education could be the centerpiece of a national campaign? I mean, could we see that in 2012? Could we see it in 2016? And who's your running mate?
15-yard penalty.
That was
You tried. That's 15-yard penalty. Lost it down, Silva.
no, seriously.
No, I'm serious. No, I would say, look, the way that education is important at the federal level isn't as it relates to the ins and outs of the Department of Education. It's in defining a competitiveness agenda for the future of the country. You can't be competitive unless you have a significant and continual improvement in the caliber of people's ability to acquire knowledge. It's just impossible. You can't overcome, in a knowledge-based world that we're living in, the inability to acquire knowledge. And if so, how does that play out? Well, it means that in third grade, if we're allowing, through seat time, to allow kids to go on to fourth grade and they're functionally illiterate, we know what the result will be. The result will be that child, by the time that they reach the point of either dropping out or even graduating, sadly, without the real skills to have a meaningful degree, they won't be able to be competitive in the world we're moving in. So in the case of New York City, in the case of Florida, we have a no social promotion policy in third grade. It'd be great to advocate that across the country. I think it would be of huge benefit for our competitiveness going forward. That's how I think it becomes important. It becomes important because people are concerned about how do we compete, how do we create prosperity, how do families function in the world that we're moving in, where changes happen at really fast paces and there are new competitors that didn't exist a decade ago. What do you think?
I think, but even on social promotion, if it's not tied to rigorous standards, that's the whole problem. Even with everybody will be proficient. We can get everybody proficient. All we got to do is lower the bar really low. We need to reverse the engineering here, have meaningful world-class standards, and then fundamentally drive. I agree with you. See, the problem I always thought about education that makes it hard is most people, if you ask them, go out in the center of the country and ask them what's their greatest challenge, education is usually not at the top because it's a divisible issue for most people. Most middle-class people, they may be concerned about this or that, but they generally can get a good education. So systemic issues, the shape of the economy, things like that tend to draw attention. But what Jeb is saying, which seems really important, and it's going to take leadership to make the sale, is the future competitiveness of this country depends on a different education system. One, for example, where science, technology, engineering, and math are entirely different than the way it's thought of right now. And people don't get that. A documentary worth looking at is called 2 Million Minutes. Have you seen this thing?
No, you told me to see it, and I haven't seen it.
It's really worth seeing. It's 2 kids in high school. 2 million minutes, how long it takes to go to high school. 2 kids in high school in the U.S., in India, and in China. And what you see is a very, very different culture in terms of their attitudes toward education, the significance and value of education. And I think people haven't yet locked their head around the long-term competitiveness issues. Jeb said the same thing that Mayor Bloomberg said when we were in Washington working on the stimulus package. And the New York delegation said to him, Mayor, said, you think we're going to get through this economic crisis? And he said, of course we will. America always does. The question is, are we going to fix our education crisis? So far, America never has. And how we get people excited about it. I give President Obama credit because he listed education as one of the big 4. He said the economy, the environment, healthcare, and education. And that was, I think, a big framing issue early on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.